Okay, well, hello everybody. My name is Greg Harman from Kantech. Can everybody hear me okay? So, better? So we're going to do a discussion today about the end user experience and how that applies to access control and video and telephone entry. When you look at technology and the way that it's evolved over the last several years, the way that end users interface with their technology, with their data, has evolved a lot. We're seeing a huge shift toward mobile applications and cloud security. So I'm going to talk about how end users are starting to utilize this stuff when it comes to their security platform. The security industry is typically always lag behind when it comes to this sort of stuff. So a couple of things about how people are typically interfacing with their security platform. This diagram kind of shows you how most end users are experiencing their security platform today. And that is that they have an alarm system. They've got potentially a software for doing their badge printing. They've got an access control platform. They've got a video platform, and then a phone entry system. So what happens is customers will say, okay, well, we're going to let this person go. So they log into their alarm system and take their alarm code out of the alarm system. And then, so they go in, boot up their software, dial in, make that change. Then they log out, they'll go into their access control platform, and they'll remove their badge from the system. And then it's, okay, now we got to go into phone entry, and did he have a code for somebody to call up to his extension? We got to get him out of there as well so that he can't unlock the door through his phone. So what we're looking at doing now is pulling all of these different databases into not only one interface, so you've got one view, one software to learn to manage all of these different platforms, but also one database so that I'm not having to manage multiple different databases. The number one thing that I find that end users typically struggle with when it comes to access control is that they'll log in potentially into their alarm system and remove somebody from their alarm system, but they'll leave them in their access control system. We've got a few integrators here, but when you guys do security audits of your customers, how often is their card database where it's supposed to be? So you run never, and I've never experienced it either. It's literally 100% of the time. We go to the end user, we say, can you run a list of active users on your system? And they pull up a list and it's like, okay, well, you got 800 names here. How many employees do you have? And it's like, well, we have 150 employees, right? Happens all the time, it's consistent. So the whole concept here is one click, let's take them out of all of our systems in one shot. The other element to that too is that we're only learning one interface. So you're supposed to become a security expert as an end user, and you're supposed to be able to go in and add your holidays and view your video views and pull back video and all that sort of stuff. But you've got to learn all of these different software platforms to make that work. The concept here again is that it's one interface, one software to learn to do all of your administration. The other evolution, I guess, in the end user experience is that we're at a point in the industry where end users have the ability to choose from a spectrum of services how they want their security platform to be administered. The way that it's always worked in the past is you guys provide us with a PC, we'll install software on it, and we'll get it all programmed up for you. We'll walk away, and then you guys manage your system. It's evolved where we're at a point where you can say, okay, you can do whatever you want. You can have as much or as little control over the system as you want, and we're finding that a lot of very large end users, multinational, multi-site end users are saying, well, we don't want to have that security burden in-house. We don't want those requests for access control changes and access level changes going to our on-site IT guy anymore. We want that to go to a security integrator, because we've had our IT guy leave twice now, and we've had to retrain somebody, and so it makes it a lot simpler to just say, okay, we're going to outsource it to a third party. We never have to worry about updating their knowledge. We never have to worry about them going on vacation or not being available. On that sort of spectrum of services, the first one is traditional, and with traditional, there's a lot of pain points that end users will experience. Typically, the pain point that we come across very often is customers' computer crashes. When it comes to a computer failing, it's not a question of if it's going to fail, but when it's going to fail. And when it does fail, and again, we've got many integrators here, when it does fail, you roll a truck and you say, well, where's your backup? And then what's the typical response from a customer? What's a backup, right? So you have to go, okay, well, I'm going to roll a truck. We're going to get a technician out here. We're going to rebuild your security platform. We're going to rebuild your database, add all your access levels, completely do a configuration from the ground up. It happens all the time, and that's an extremely expensive prospect. So that's the biggest pitfall of traditional. If you guys have ever used, I don't know if you use Dropbox or any sort of a cloud service, but the whole concept here is we move away from hosting that on site and we push it off into the cloud. And then we just get a secure login. We log in, we make our changes. We never have to worry about maintaining that software on the back end. So instead of doing this and managing and maintaining it myself on my own system, we push it off to option one, hosted. This is the beginning of sort of that services spectrum. With a hosted system, we have an integrator host it for us, and we can log in, we make our changes. We never have to do a software update. It's all automatic. If there's a new feature or a new button available, you log in as an end user and there's that feature. So it saves them having to pay for an SSA, and it saves them having to actually do that update of the security software. It's evergreen. Your controllers, your software, you're always using the latest and greatest technology. When it comes to a hosted platform, you still do your administration yourself, so you still maintain 100% of the control of your system that you normally would, so you're still going to log in, you're going to change your access levels, add users, do all the stuff you normally would. You're just taking that burden of the security infrastructure out of the equation. On the far other end of the services spectrum is managed security. When it comes to managed security, we can take all of the security requests. So we just recently had a very large end user that brought with us several dozen sites and over 1,100 doors. And all of the traffic was going to their on-site IT guy to do the administration of that system. With managed, they've taken all of that traffic and they've redirected it to their integrator. All of those requests go off to the integrator. They never have to worry about it being done improperly. They never have to worry about that employee leaving or anything like that. Mobile applications. Has anybody used a mobile application for access control before? You guys have, because you guys are our customer. This is a fairly new concept to access control. The idea of a mobile application. Where we see mobile applications being vital is, to be honest, the majority of the time that I see people using this, it's they get a phone call from an employee, I'm at the front door, it's Saturday morning, I forgot my badge, can you let me in? And then they're like, okay. And then they open up the app and they do a one-time access and the person gets into the building. That's the majority of how they use it. On the higher end potential for this, and where I see a lot of interest, is in the education vertical. School boards are very interested in the concept of having, not having to have somebody run to a PC and log in to do a lockdown if there's an emergency. We can put all of that functionality of their command center onto a mobile device now. So if they're out in the schoolyard, they can get an instant notification on their smartphone, and they can pull it out. They can pull up their video app. They can visually verify, yeah, in fact, that is a threat. And then they can pull up their access control app and do a lockdown at the facility if they need to. This is where everything is going, because this sort of stuff it's critical that it gets executed as quickly as possible. And that person may not even be on campus, the person that has access to make those type of changes. There's a lot of other advantages to the mobile application that I'll talk about in a little bit, but being able to access this database is huge. The other concept, we're moving away in the way that we administer system architecture. We're moving away from the idea of having software installed on PCs. For us, it's an old concept, an old way of doing it. We moved to the concept of a web-delivered app. We do not want the interface to be installed on a PC, because if you have it installed on a PC and they update that software, they update from Windows Vista to Windows 7, there's typically issues and they have to install a patch or an update or whatever the case might be. The idea of a web-delivered app is just like an app for your phone. So you've got a server that has all of your security software installed on it. You put in the IP address for that server and it installs a web-delivered application. That becomes your workstation. That becomes that software that's installed on the PC. So again, the big advantage to having this done this way, if there's an update to the system to be done, by association, your web-delivered app is up to date. You don't have to go to all these different workstations and make sure that they're up to date as well. So it makes it much easier to administer, especially if you've got multiple sites and multiple logins. Also, your PC crashes, and in scenario A, we had to roll a truck and have somebody go out and do a rebuild. In this scenario, your PC crashes, grab a new PC, put in that IP address, and it downloads the app and you're off to the races. You don't even need to call your security administrator for something like that. Another concept that is sort of on that far end of the services spectrum is managing credentials. And again, it's sort of where we see credential servicing going in the future, because it's such an expensive prospect to set a customer up or an end user up with. Here's your badge printer, here's your badges, here's your inks, ribbons, cleaning kits, and then the ongoing maintenance. It's very expensive. If you've only got 100 employees, the whole idea of doing that, you're going to spend $5,000 on a badge printer. You've got 100 employees, you're already looking at a $50 a print badge cost. So where the industry average is going for managed services is you log into your web portal for your integrator, you request a badge print, and they ship it to you for somewhere in the $15 to $25 neighborhood. Versus they do it themselves, it costs them $50 just for the infrastructure, per badge print, just for the infrastructure in the background, and then you have to also buy the badge itself, which is going to cost you between $8 and $12 on average. Okay. So this is also a big way that we see the services spectrum shifting. As far as solutions go for this and where this accessibility, so now we can spread it out. We don't have people going to one PC. I've got a customer in Toronto that's in the process of implementing. They've got 3 buildings, and they're setting up each receptionist with the mobile application. So they deal a lot with temporary employees. So a temporary employee comes to the desk, and they want the receptionist to be able to say, okay, snap your photo with the phone, it uploads it to the database, assign a card, and away you go. Even if you're not doing credential servicing, if you're not doing badge printing, it's still a good idea to be here, take this photo, put in that personal information, here's the badge, here's the expire date, and hit save. And it makes it a lot easier to do this because all of our phones have cameras built into it. So one way that people are utilizing it. The other element, and I touched on it before, is the administration anywhere. I mean, it's amazing that we can have guards at a guard station, and typically they've been locked to that guard station, but now they can actually go up and do guard tours without having to worry about having to run back to that PC if something happens. They can get that instant notification, all that functionality on their phone without having to run back to that PC that's in a fixed location. The other element to all of this stuff too is it becomes very flexible with more people, with it being easier to access. I think we get into a situation where more people are going to be granted access, and we can run into situations, especially in the property management vertical, where we can give people access to log into the system and make their changes, but we can change every single person's login to a custom level. So I can say when Dan logs in, he only has the ability to see this particular building, and he can only control the cards for this building, and I don't want him to be able to change access levels or schedules or any of that stuff. I just want him to be able to log in, add a user, add an access level, and save it, and that's it. And we can do that. We can create that custom login. But we can say, okay, well, Andrew's our security expert. He's the one guy that has control over this entire system. He gets to do everything. We can create as many logins as we want, and we can make them as customized as we want. So we can get very specific. So people aren't tied to their badge as much anymore. They've got their cell phone, they pull that up, and we can set up a custom profile for them to do what they would, what you would want them to have access to on the system. Thank you.